You're listening to the main event with Zach Gelb and Mike Zahn on WHIP.
Welcome back, everybody. Listen to WHIP Radio in Philadelphia. Zach Gelb and Mike Zahn here with you, taking you up until noon Eastern Time, where the Temple Sports Hour will come your way. We're putting the finishing touches on the Temple-Notre Dame game. The Owls get their first loss of the season as they fall to Notre Dame by a score of 24-20. And a lot of pride in the city of Philadelphia, as well on this campus. When you're talking about this Temple football team, they've impressed a lot of people. And stay on the bandwagon, folks. There's only many more wins to come for this football team. 4 games left in the regular season, and then they'll probably play in the conference championship game, and then they'll have a bowl game. So a nice way for Matt Rule in his 3rd year to be with this Temple football program. Now joining us is a man that knows Matt Rule very well. He was here at Temple as an undergrad from 05 to 08, then was in the operations department and also was a graduate assistant from 11 to 13. And then he went for a few years and was a scout for the Bears, and that's Andre Odom, who joins the show right now. Andre, Zach, and Mike here on Temple's campus. What's happening, my friend? Andre, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here. How are you? How's everything?
Hey, we're doing great, Andre. We appreciate you giving us a few minutes. So that was a special game on Saturday, and it was an atmosphere that you usually don't see for a Temple football game. I thought it was better, honestly, than the Penn State game, and it almost felt like, I know that Temple didn't win the game, but you walked out of that stadium just with a certain sense of pride that it was almost to the extent of a win. And I know you don't take any moral victories at this stage, but if there's one time I'm going to take a moral victory, it was on Saturday night. I know the players, some of them were disappointed after Saturday. That's just normal with how much of a competitive sport this is and how much preparation goes into these games. But what do you think the feel was of these Temple players on Sunday and even today with their performance on Saturday night up against Notre Dame?
Well, to be honest, just knowing a lot of the players down there being involved with the recruiting process of a multitude of them, I know those guys are extremely competitive and they're hungry and they know that they're great, but they're not excellent yet. So, I mean, those guys were hurt. They really were, because they know they should have won that game. We had the game in our hands, and Notre Dame just made one additional play that won the game for them. So hats off to them. But we don't take moral victories. We know we should have won that game, and we will be ready for the next upcoming game because there's no time for letdowns.
You know what's funny? Because in Philadelphia, obviously the movie Rocky always comes up, and Rocky lost his big fight on that national stage, and Rocky won. And Temple, they lost to Notre Dame, and I think this Temple team is going to bounce back. I know that it's a movie, but do you see any similarities between Rocky and this Temple football team? I think it's a better story, honestly, and hopefully it lingers on for a few more years.
To me personally, I do see the similarities, and there are some similar commonalities there. However, this is a separate entity in itself. Temple football, we've been at rock bottom of college football for a very long time. So although Saturday night was a major heartbreaking loss for us, if you think about it from this perspective, when's the last time people left a Temple football game feeling and distraught as they did Saturday night? I can't remember a time when it was something of that magnitude. So with that said, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. People were upset, we were hurt, whatever. But at the end of the day, we're interested again. You know what I mean? We have the city behind us. We have people across the country taking notice of our university, not just football. So all in all, it's a win for every entity involved, football, basketball, the university in itself. So I just feel extremely exhilarated from what happened. I'm sorry we couldn't get the win, but I know these guys will bounce back, and it'll be a greater story at the end, but there's more to go. It's not over yet. This will not be the highlight of the season.
And this entire week, it was like a major home run in baseball or a Hail Mary pass in football. College game day was just such a fun feel to it. Leading up to the game, the Eagles were on a bye. Everyone was pausing and just talking about Temple football. You were here on Friday on campus. It was just that electric atmosphere. You were driving around the city. You saw the Temple T on all these kinds of buildings. So it was just something very special to see. And like you said, this Temple football team, they've been through a lot of crap. 10 years ago, the program almost got dropped. You were here under Al Golden. You were here for Steve Adazio. You know Matt Rule very well. What is the growth of this program, and how proud are you to have affiliations to Temple University to see this growth as someone that's played and also worked on the coaching staff in the operations department?
I'll preface my statement by saying this. Wherever I go, I bleed cherry and white. Temple is always with me. When I was in Chicago, there was a ton of Temple guys out there, and we all had our posters up and our Temple gear, so we wore it proud, win, lose, or draw. When you're an owl, you're always an owl, and it's just that simple. As far as the growth of the program, through Al Golden, he started it all, so hats off to him. We appreciate him, and we love him for what he started here. The same thing with Coach Adazio. He came in and he followed up what Al Golden did by taking us to a bowl game and things of that nature. However, when you talk about a guy like Matt Rule, I have a special relationship with him. He's one of my mentors. I'm proud to say that I'm a Matt Rule guy. So, with that said, he's not the typical. I want to make sure I say this correctly. He's not the typical type of coach. He's not an antiquated individual. You know what I mean? He's kind of like new era, new style. He gets the kids pumped up. They believe in the message that he's sending them every week, every day, because he leads by example. You see Matt out there practice. Matt's out there working out with the kids. You see him before the game starts. He's out there doing gassers. He's just a different kind of guy. So when parents see that, when parents see a coach actually leading by example and doing what he preaches to the kids to do, people are excited about that. They want their kids to play for a guy like that. So if I'm a parent and I have a child, that's playing college football, he's the epitome of what I want my child to be like and learn from. So that's what's giving him so much momentum in recruiting and things of that nature, because he's just a phenomenal individual top to bottom, and he lives what he preaches. You know what I mean? And he's found a way to aggrandize this program. Football, the university, everything is just – it's just amazing what's going on down there. So, hear this and hear this good. Parents, if you're listening, this guy right here is the real deal. You will want your child to play for a man like this. He's not just a football coach. He's a friend. He's a mentor. He's a teacher. He's a father. He's all the above. So, that's what's doing it right there. And not to mention, he's hired a gang of coaches down there that they just follow his lead. Guys like Francis Brown, Elijah Robinson, those guys are phenomenal recruiters. So you're bringing in a ton of talent consistently year in and year out, and this is the result that you get.
We're talking to former Temple football player Andre Odom, and a ton of praise for Matt Rule, and I understand it. This is my fourth year at the university, so I was here for 1 year of Steve Adazio and have gone through quite a transition, 2-10, 6-6, now 7-1 with Matt Rule. What made you personally as a player want to transfer here, and what did Al Golden show you while you were here as a student and as a football player?
Well, my situation was pretty different because I started off at Bloomsburg University as a Division II football player on scholarship there at DB. I got injured up there, so I transferred back home on the strength of one of my friends, Ryan Gore, who was actually the starting linebacker here. At the time when I was at Bloomsburg, we played together at high school. He was talking to me. He was like, "Man, just transfer back home and walk onto the team, see what can happen." I was like, "Man, I just don't know. I like it up here. I'm comfortable." But I ended up getting injured, and I had to come back home, and obviously I got my surgery done by Dr. Ford there. So, I walked onto the team. Unfortunately, I really didn't get a chance to play because I just wasn't the same guy, coming off of my injury. But just being a part of the program, I always said that I was a part of the program. I was always, around as much as possible. Just seeing what Al Golden did. Coach Golden was such a phenomenal motivator. He was a great teacher. He's one of those guys that, again, Matt Rule learned from Al Golden also. So Matt Rule saw, how Al Golden led by example, how he would, want the kids to, put in 10 hours a day of studying their craft and perfecting it. But Al was also in the office 17, 18 hours a day. You know what I mean? 19 hours sometimes. Go home to see his family for a few hours, then he'll be back in the office, things like that. So as far as him recruiting, he really was an excellent recruiter. He found a way to get kids to buy in, to come to this Temple University, to this program, and help build something special. And over a period of time, he was able to, maneuver and master his craft and get and was able to bring in not top-notch 5- and 4-star players, but, those 3 stars, those 2 stars, and the most masterful thing that I've seen Al do was Al was able to develop those guys into players. You know what I mean? Guys like Muhammad Wilkerson, the late Adrian Robertson, God bless him, Tahir Whitehead, just countless guys who are, had an opportunity to play at the next level. And it's not that they were the best players coming out of high school, but he developed those guys. And that's what it's all about, and that's what Matt's doing right now.
Not to be cliche, but now what's next for this Temple football team? Obviously, one loss is not going to define their season. They are 7-1. Still 4 big conference games ahead. Obviously, a lot of people are probably looking forward to the next home game against Memphis. That'll be 2 heavyweights between Memphis and Temple. What does Temple need to do next against SMU to make a big statement Friday night?
Well, this is a laborious process. I mean, it's something that has taken a considerable amount of time, right, to build to this point. So, again, people, I just hope people understand, what was put into this process. So you don't expect a letdown. Expect these boys to come out firing on Friday night because, this has been a long time coming. This is not just a shocker that we hung in there with Notre Dame and that we almost had a chance to win. They're built for this. This team is built for success. You know what I mean? I stated it earlier. They're a very good football team right now, but they have the potential to be excellent, and they're not there yet. So, which means they still have a ton of more work to do, and they know that. You know what I mean? So, expect these guys to come out firing on all cylinders and finish off the season strong, and especially not taking any opponent light. SMU they're a decent football team. They do some things well. Their record might not state that, but they're a decent football team, and we know how it is in college football or football in general, any given day. So you have to come out on your game and execute and at a high level, which I'm sure they will.
This week was a tremendous recruiting tool for Temple. College game day and then the ABC game of the week. There were just so many eyes on Temple University. And they didn't drop out of the top 25 poll. And I'm happy they didn't because there's no way there's 25 teams better than them in the country right now as we sit here in the college football season. What do you think the national feel is of a school like Temple right now after what the nation saw this entire week and on Saturday night?
I think nationally that they're taking notice, and not just taking notice, but they're actually, as you just so eloquently alluded to, they're respecting our program. They're respecting, Matt Rule and what he's done. They're respecting our players. Most importantly, though, those guys they're out there hitting. They're out there playing fast. They're playing physical. But most importantly, they're playing extremely disciplined. You know what I mean? So when you're on national TV and you put on a show like that, your players go about their business the right way. They play hard. They're emblematic of the way football should be played. People respect that. And not only are those guys playing hard, but they're playing smart. They're playing fast. And they love their coach, and it shows throughout their play. So, nationally, I think the respect level is there because let's just be honest. If it was any other team, they probably would have dropped out of the top 25. That's normally how it goes if you're ranked like 21, 22, and you lose, you normally drop out. So that just shows the level of respect that's growing for Temple, which is an amazing thing. And as far as recruiting, that only bolsters our opportunities, to get those bigger players, and most importantly, to keep those local players that are from the PDSJ market, Philadelphia, Delaware, South Jersey market here at home at Temple, because we have a big-time program with a big-time coach, and not to mention a big-time university.
And it's only growing more. There's tons of construction on this campus. You hear all the talks about the on-campus stadium, and that plan is $100 million, 35,000 seats. I think it'd be perfect for this university. But when Matt came here to Temple, he replaced Steve Adazio. And the big reason why people wanted to bring Matt here was because of the fact that they thought he would bring consistency to this university with the amount of loyalty and pride that he had for Temple University. You're a disciple of Coach Rule. When all this national attention comes to Temple, they're going to look at the coach, and he's going to become a hot coaching commodity. Why will Matt Rule stay at Temple for a few more years?
Well, let me preface my statement by saying I don't pretend to be prophetic in any way, shape, or form. So I can't say exactly what will keep him or what will make him leave. I don't know what he'll do. Only the future, you know what I mean, will tell itself. So, but what I will say is that Matt loves Philadelphia. His family loves Philadelphia. He's been in Philadelphia for, 10 years now? He loves Temple University. He's a Temple guy. He's the epitome of what Temple represents. Tough, hard-nosed, blue-collar, you know what I mean? Just the limitless, tireless work. So I hope he doesn't leave because selfishly, we need him at this university because, I mean, he just brings out so much greatness out of our football team, but also when he's out there on campus, the students love him. He's such a personable individual. You know, he'll stop by and shake or hug or have a conversation, you know, with anyone, and people love that stuff. So he's the face of our program right now. So hopefully he doesn't leave, but I would understand if he did, you know what I mean, because this is business and
sure.
and you know, things happen. So he has a family that he needs to worry about and things of that nature. But I'm sure when that time comes, he'll make the best decision for, you know, himself, his family, and he'll absolutely think about Temple University as a whole. But I can't see him going anywhere right now. I mean, what other place would he want to be other than Temple right now? But things happen, and you know, we'll see what happens in the future. I hope I didn't bloviate too much about that, but you know, we'll see.
Getting to some X's and O's in the game, Jahad Thomas was clearly laboring in the game, and there were a couple times he went down on his own, appeared didn't want to be tackled, especially late in the game. What did you see from him Saturday, and is there any issue that maybe Temple was deviating from what got them here, their bread and butter of feeding number 5?
Right. You could see that he was definitely hurting. I'm not sure exactly what it was. It looked as if it was a lower leg injury from my vantage point, but you could definitely tell he was definitely hurting. But the kid still played hard. He played his heart out. He's a really, really good football player. So when you talk about them getting away from what they were doing, I mean, this is a good football team, and they were playing against a very, very good football team. So their game plan, Notre Dame that is, was to come in and stop number 5. So it's kind of hard to, you know, keep pounding the rock, and they're expecting that they're loading the box up, you know, at 8, 9 guys at times. It's kind of hard to keep running, you know, power, you know, lead, ISO lead, things of that nature because you're not setting him up for success. So they put the ball in PJ's hand, and PJ did a wonderful job. And you know, things happen sometimes. So I would say they had a great game plan. They executed at the good level, I think. I just feel like if we would have made 2 additional plays, the game would have been ours, and we'd probably be having a different discussion right now. But, you know, my hat's off to the coaches. I think they had a good game plan. The players executed the highest level that they could. And, you know, unfortunately, we didn't come up with the win, but we'll bounce back.
Wrapping up with Andre Odom, and it's also big that loss didn't occur in a conference game because Temple's on pace to be in the conference championship game. I'd be absolutely shocked if they're not representing the East. But I know you're a big film junkie, and you always love watching film. I want to get your take on 2 plays that did affect the outcome of this game. The Fuller TD catch, it was 17 yards, and then the Kivari Russell interception, PJ's first interception of the night. When you look back at that film, what did you see on those 2 plays?
Yeah, I mean, if you just go back to the Will Fuller play, we were playing cover 2, and the safety was just a tad bit late getting over. You know, it just shows that this game is really all about inches. It really is, because if he doesn't fall step and he gets over there immediately to his landmark, you know, that could possibly be an interception or a PBU by that safety. So it's just one of those things where, you know, you really you don't point the blame. That's not what you do as a coach or as a player. You don't point the blame, but you know, that's the player, you know, getting back into the film room and getting his mental right and making sure that he's executing every single play that he's in there. You know, because that same player has been a really good player for Temple for some time now. So things happen. I mean, you know, we didn't make the play. It's just that simple. We'll make it the next time. And on to the other play. You know, PJ is such a competitor. I mean, he gives us everything, every game, every play. You know, he just tried to make a play for his team, and that DB, you got to take your hat off. You have to take your hat off.
Great play.
He just made an excellent play. Oh my gosh, that was an excellent play. I can't really point my finger at PJ and say he just made a mistake. That was an excellent play by that DB. You don't see a lot of DBs making plays like that. So tip your hat to him because, I mean, he read the quarterback's eyes and he's made a phenomenal break on the ball. And most importantly, he sustained the catch. So it was just an excellent play, and you can't really, hey, congratulations, Notre Dame. Good for him.
This defense, they battled all night, and they battle each and every week. They're the strength of this team. Their red zone defense, to get 2 interceptions and to hold the team to a field goal, also when it was a first and goal ball in the 3, was something really special. They did get beat for that one big play. It was a 79-yard right after Temple took the lead. And I think everyone in the stadium fell for that fake, including the Temple defense. How did they execute that play so well in Notre Dame?
It was just a really, really smart, decisive play by the quarterback. I mean, he read the defensive end. It was a read option. He read the defensive end. The end crashed down. He kept it. He hit the outside, and it was night-night. So it was just a great play, and great patience, great decisiveness by the quarterback. From a defensive perspective, I mean, you will want that defensive end, that contained player. You want him to play a little bit more disciplined, I assume, but you know, it's really tough because once you're in the game, that's the thing about, you know, having the experience as a player. Also, you kind of understand it. Like, once those live bullets are flying and the game is going 1,000 miles an hour, you know, it's tough to really be, you know, as disciplined as you would like to be because you're just trying to make a play to help your team. You know what I mean? Like, you're in a big game like that. You know, you're playing the number 9 team in the country. You're just trying to make a play. But, you know, things happen. The quarterback, hats off to him because, as you alluded to, everyone in the stadium fell for the fake, you know, including myself from my vantage point. So it's just one of those things where you just have to commend Notre Dame and that quarterback on an excellent play.
Last one here with Andre Odom before we let him run. The refereeing, I think pass interference, you can't define it anymore. It's so inconsistent right now. And Matt even said after the game that he wasn't going to comment on the refs because he didn't want to waste his daughter's vacation money, which I thought was a very clever and funny line. But you could tell he was not happy with the way the refs are. You know how coaches teach things. What's their message when it comes to cornerbacks and pass interference? Because I just don't understand the rule anymore. And it's kind of those things where it just depends when the ref throws the flag, because there's some times where there's pushing and shoving both ways, and then the defender gets just called for a PI. And it's really unfortunate because there were some bad calls in that game. I don't think the calls decided the game, but there were some bad calls.
You know, I personally feel as though there were some very questionable calls in that game. And unfortunately, we really didn't get the bulk of them. Notre Dame did. But, you know, as a pass interference, you know, anytime you're a DB, you want to do your best to you know, keep your hands off of the receivers because referees are always looking for hand checks, especially, after that 5-yard mark. You know, anytime you get beyond the 5-yard mark, you know, you have to kind of keep your hands to yourself like you're in grade school. You know what I mean? Because those referees are always looking for it. And anytime the ball is in the air, if it's a catchable ball and the DB has his hand on the receiver, but not just hand placed on the receiver, if he's, you know, kind of getting an advantage, a competitive edge that the referees will look at from their perspective, they're throwing the flag. So, you know, I personally, I don't like to get into all that, you know what I mean? Because I still have that coaching aura to me. That's kind of my deal. But there were some questionable calls that I probably would not have called, but that's just the cookie crumbles sometimes like that, and it doesn't go your way. And unfortunately, we didn't get those calls. You know, if we get those calls or not have those calls called on us, you know, I personally feel as though there could have been a slightly different outcome to the game, especially to momentum, because the momentum shift is real. So it's just one of those things where you just have to not put it in the referee's hands, and you have to put it in your own hands. You know what I mean? Because it's tough playing a number 9 team in the country, but in addition to that, playing against the referees also, it's a tough battle for any team. So, you know, you just wish to have those calls back, but things happen, and I think our kids, they did a remarkable job of being, you know, resilient and mentally tough and playing through it and not really letting it affect them, you know, as much as it could have.
Andre, it was great to see you on campus Friday. We appreciate a few minutes today. You're the best. Thanks so much.
Awesome. No problem. Take it easy, guys.